My name is Jeremy John Wilsden. I was born August 12, 1974. I'm 6 foot 1 3/4 inches tall. Prior to the attack, I was 240 pounds. Medication, the inability to exercise, combined with depression eating habits, caused me to balloon to 360 plus pounds. I am currently 300 pounds. Today's date is January 28, 2014. I am reading this letter to you today as I heard confronting my attackers may help me move on with my life, but I am skeptical. Dear Officer Antea, Stevenson, Edgar, Klaus, which were the officers from the initial attack in Bowmanville, and the officers, including Rutherford, that in the Oshawa police station stood and watched while doing nothing as I was beaten by Rutherford and Antea. While standing in my underwear facing a wall with my hands spread on the wall and my legs spread wide open. Then verbally abused as I fell to the ground after being beaten on the back of the head. On November 5th, 2000, I was at 7-Eleven getting something to eat when you, Robbie Antea, Paula Stevenson, Phil Edgar, and Sergeant Klaus set in motion something that would change my life negatively in many ways. Robbie Antea, for no good reason, you punched me in the chest 3 times, even though I was telling you that you were invading my space and assaulting me. To which you responded, "Oh yeah? Oh yeah?" just prior to intentionally kicking me in the groin for the first time. You testified under oath in the Superior Court of Justice located in Oshawa to a Superior Court judge that you used a push kick to my abdominal area, which may have hit me in the groin. First, it was not a push kick you used. I would describe it more like a football punt, with your toes pointed towards the sky, clad in police-issued boots. Second, your report says something totally different. And third, my polygraph test says that you intentionally kicked me in the groin at least once. After being punched in the chest 3 times and kicked in the groin once, I was pulled by at least 3 of you in every direction while you were saying don't resist. Sergeant Klaus said he wasn't near me. This would lead me to believe that it was you, Antea, Edgar, and Stevenson, who were pulling me in every direction while I was walked backward from the middle of Liberty Street into the parking lot of 7-Eleven. I was not resisting, and the only reason I can think of for you all to say what you were saying is that A, you're trained to say don't resist no matter what the situation, and or B, as you were pulling me in every direction, you were pulling against each other while using me as the rope in a tug-of-war competition. After walking/pulling me backwards approximately 40 feet into the 7-Eleven parking lot, which 2 minutes earlier, with foul language, you were ordering my friends and myself out of, I went to my knees, then to my stomach. While on the ground and getting a wrist cuffed, I was laying on one of my arms, which gave me trouble getting it back to my back. I was finally able to free my arm from underneath me and put it behind my back. I could feel the cuff at my second wrist when for no reason I got pepper sprayed. That was uncalled for. I was then yanked by my left arm, kicked on my left side, and told to get up. I asked for help getting up, and that is when I was kicked in the groin from behind. I'm not sure if you realize what it feels like to be kicked 2 times in a row with hard-nosed boots, but I can tell you from experience that it is the most pain I have ever felt in my entire life. After being put in the police cruiser, I was taken to the Oshawa police station. During the drive, I was spitting pepper spray on the floor, not at you, Phil Edgar, as you allege. Yes, I was swearing and yelling, as I'm sure you would if what happened to me happened to you. Now at the Oshawa police station, I was brought into a small room on the north wall where I stood facing west when the aforementioned attack took place. The only officers in the room with me were you, Jim, James Rutherford, and you, Robbie Antaya. However, there were approximately 6 other officers at the door watching as you took your aggression out on my head and groin. One of the officers was female, and the oldest officer in the group stood at the door slapping a baton in his hand. After attacking me, you, Rutherford, were one of the 2 people taking me to a cell. The second officer was younger, and I asked him to be careful with my arm, as my shoulder was not 100% due to injury from years ago. And he did. I thank you. Later that morning, an officer let me out of the cell and released me. I went to the hospital. I thank you, sir, for treating me as a human being should be treated. After going to the hospital, I went home. I could hardly walk. I have seen many doctors who had to do tests on me to try and find out what treatment would be best to fix the damage I have from the attack November 5th, 2000. I have had 3 separate doctors give me anal exams. I had hoped to have those tests later on in life. Although I know the tests were needed, it still felt like another assault. I am still being treated by doctors for physical injury, mental injury, and the pain associated with it. I have had an operation which I did not need until you attacked me. I have damage to my groin, pelvic area, brain, and abdomen. The swelling from being kicked 3 times in the groin caused my abdomen to swell so much that the abdominal muscles have split. That was painful. My left testicle feels as though it is partially torn from its connectors. It feels like there is damage to the connectors, which pulls apart when I bend over or do other movement involving my lower abdomen. Nausea and pain is what I feel. I have 3 areas of damage on my brain that are consistent with blunt force trauma. These areas cannot be fixed, and from time to time, I still get piercing headaches behind my left eye that surge backwards through the left side of my brain. Just behind my left eye, there is pain all the time. None of these injuries will ever be fixed, as the doctors don't want to cause any other damage by having to cut through muscles to expose the areas I speak of. I am not sure which is worse, the PTSD, which I am being treated for, or the physical pain I try to cope with all day, every day. But the combination is something I cannot put into words. I will try, briefly. First, the pain in my groin is treated with medication as well as nerve block injections. This means when I see a pain clinic doctor, they poke me with a needle to start an intravenous area in the top of my hand. Sometimes it takes a few attempts to get the needle in my vein before the drug that knocks me out can be administered. Once knocked out, the doctors follow the nerves and inject them with nerve block. There has been a shortage of medication used to knock me out, so on several occasions I have woken up during the procedure. I have decided not to continue with this operation as the pain associated with the procedure reminds me of how I got there in the first place. Since this attack, I have had to urinate much sooner than I used to, and it hurts to hold my urine in for any period of time. As for the PTSD, I relive the attack day after day, multiple times a day, including when I sleep. The thoughts I have had to live with because of the physical, mental, and emotional pain are thoughts that were foreign to me prior to the attack of November 5th, 2000. Financially, I am in a bad place. Since November 5th, 2000, I have been unable to work, which forced me to collect welfare, and now I am on ODSP. Any jobs I do apply for must not include heavy lifting, which limits me drastically while searching for employment. I have lived with this for approximately 13 years, and I'm sure I will have to live with it the rest of my life. I wish this on no one. Although I did have a trial in Superior Court, civil, I was unable to enter the information I have collected over the years simply because I was unable to work, which in turn made it impossible for me to afford representation that could take the time that was needed to go over and submit all of my paperwork. I did submit exhibits A through Y, including a polygraph test, prior to my cost hearing, and I'm sure I have more exhibits that could be utilized in an appeal or in the Supreme Court of Canada. But as I have said, I do not have any money to have my appeal heard and presented by professionals. Sergeant Klaas, you were the only one to testify with a shred of truth, and you looked as though you had a conscience while displaying a bit of remorse. Please, sir, if you tell the truth, I will forgive you. The rest of the officers did nothing but lie, while showing absolutely no remorse, yet looking very guilty. I don't think I will ever be able to forgive you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this.